All right, guys, here we are. Turn back the clock, episode 39. What's up, Dylan?
Yeah, Adam. Stoked to be here. Let's get another turn back the clock in the books. Always love hanging out with you, talking cards and opinions. So you're in charge. So what do we got?
Well, I want to get real fancy on this one. Let me see if this works. Ready? I got this intro thing. Let's see if it. Woo! Yeah.
Dude, I need to do that, man. I need to freaking do that.
It was actually very easy, but and StreamYard now you just add a little intro video. You just click show. I should have learned how to do that before, but I just now figured it out. So that's great.
I think that's more of an easier feature now too than it used to be. I feel like.
Yeah, I never saw it before, so it must be new.
Yeah.
All right.
I saw that recently. Oh, dude, sick. Good job.
Well, Dylan, now that we're in the Hall of Fame, we got to step up our game a little bit here. You know what I mean?
Right? Oh man. And how cool is that? We both made the Hall of Fame together in the same class. Like it just wouldn't have made sense if one of us didn't make it and one did.
Yeah, that is cool. I knew you were going to get in, but I had no clue one way or the other. So, but yeah, it was nice to go in together, man.
Yeah, it was sick.
All right, guys. Well, so on this one, we take turns, as you know, going on. One will be on my channel, the next one on Dylan's channel. And when it's on our channel, the person's channel, they kind of come up with, for the most part, the idea for the episode. And so on this one, I said, Dylan, I got a little sheet here, and I'm going to pepper you with, I got 12 questions, 12 hobby questions. And he doesn't know what these questions are, so it's just going to be off the cuff. And the goal here is to cause some controversy and create some triggering and some response videos. No, it's just hobby questions that I had in my head, and I wanted to get your opinion on. And I'll chime in too with some of my opinions as we go. But are you ready for the first one?
I'm ready.
All right. This is a pretty I guess easy one off the bat that you might know. Name a baseball card set that you don't own a card from but would like to.
1948-49 Leaf.
Ah, nice. You still don't have one of those?
Still don't have one.
Yeah, you got to get that. Actually, I think it was on the first Turn Back the Clock. Or no, first 3 and 3. You were the first episode, and you was a Stan Musial was one of your cards that you wanted to get, right?
And I tried to win one last week or the week before, and I didn't. I thought I put in a strong bid, and I just got smoked by like $300. So, that one is still on the brain. If that one, Ted Williams, those two or Joe D show up in the shape I want, I'll try and go after it. Those are the three I can afford from that set. I'd like more, but those are the three I really want.
I haven't been following it. Has those cards in particular, have they crept up in price, or are they held pretty steady over the last couple of years?
I don't know technically. I honestly have no idea. I don't look up. It's just that when I come across them, I just bid off the top of my brain. I don't know. I could have got smoked on that Stan Musial because I didn't look up comps and I bid way under. I honestly have no idea. I like to just pay for what I feel is right. It sounds stupid and silly, but okay. Sorry, these are going to take a long time. Wait, what about you? What's your set?
I would say Dan. I would like a Dan D potato chips card. Now Mickey Mantle's the obvious one, but there's other players in that set that I would, as a type collecting type of thing, which I've been doing a lot of. I would just be cool to have a card from that set. The Mantle one's pretty expensive, so yeah, even another player. But yeah, I would say that one.
Dude, there's some sick ones like Dobie's in there, like
Dobie,
expensive ones. I was like, man, those would be sick. And you said the word type collector. Like I seriously had no idea what that meant until like I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago or a month ago. I think I was even in a chat with you. I don't know who I was with. I'm like, I just finally realized what a type collector was. I'm a full-blown type collector. I didn't know. Who knew?
I didn't know what type collecting was before YouTube either. I think I heard it was like maybe Dave Blue Jacket 66 said it on like way back on a few years ago. I heard him say like, type collecting, and then I think I looked it up, and then I was like, well, I kind of like doing that anyway. I just didn't know the term, but yeah, it's certain. You just want a card from a certain set or a certain type of card, even more so than the player's not as important.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, number 2. Name a vintage baseball card you think will be worth more. Yes, I'm going to be asking you investing questions. Name a vintage baseball card you think will be worth more in 20 years, not factoring in inflation, right? So just take out the whole inflation thing, but name a vintage card that you think is going to be more valuable 20 years from now.
Well, I can go with the obvious one that I chose 3 years ago when we first started, and we had the same question. I chose the 52 Topps Jackie Robinson, but I'm not going to go with that one. So I think Jackie Robinson's an absolute no-brainer. If I was going to pick another one, man, I maybe I'm just biased and I feel the need to pump this player's cards up, but maybe not in particular player, but any Ted Williams cards. When you look at the old Beckett's, you see the prices back then were even more expensive than what I'm paying for them now in graded form. Like it's really insane. His cards used to be really expensive, and now they're less than when I was a kid. Like literally, you can look in the Beckett and you're like, wow, that card's less. And that doesn't normally, things just will stay that way. They'll probably be less forever. But I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Ted Williams cards have room to run, and they will be worth more in the future. I think when someone finally touches the 400 mark, he'll get a lot more play and time in people's brains, and there'll be a chase for 400 again at some point. I know someone will beat it at some point in history because that's part of it. I think it's a doable record. So that's
that answer.
Out of the box answer.
Love that answer. I mean, hey man, I named my channel Splendid after the Splendid Splinter. You know what I mean? So I'm with you. Ted Williams, I think, is gonna do well. I just had one in my head and I forgot it. That's my brain these days, man. I get too much in my head. I'll think of it in a second. But I had one that anyway. I lost it. But I mean, there's a lot of cards, I think. But I'll come back to it. But next question is name a modern. So same question, but with a modern card. 20 years.
Specifically, a card I have. Of course, I'm going to go with cards I have because I know these cards, and why not pump up your own cards and I buy cards because I love them first and foremost, and I also buy them when I'm spending big money on the fact that I think in the future this card's going to have value. I think that the Aaron Judge 2022 Topps Chrome buyback autograph number to 22, when they did the program where you sell your base cards back to them, and then they give you $20 for their regular and then X for their refractor and so on and so forth. That program got implemented after the season that Judge broke the all-time home run record, a huge giant record for American League and in my mind for all leagues. 61 years later after Roger Maris, and they reinserted those cards back in with a stamp on, and 22 of them were autographed in 2023 Topps Chrome packs, and they're 1 in 28,000 packs. There's only 22 of them of the first time they ever did this program, and it happened to be the biggest record in all of baseball got broke with that same card. I think it's a huge card that people are ignoring. I mean, you don't see them anyways. You don't see when they end. I've owned 2 of them. I bought one, and then another one came up and bought the other one. Sold one, but I think in the future that card will be, because there's so many autographs, there's so many special cards these days, quote unquote. You're really gonna have to find some special card to be worth a lot more now than it is, a lot more in the future than it is now. And I think that's one that will be hunted for in the future specifically. I think that program, they're going to continue to do that for as long as the foreseeable future. I think it was very popular, it's an exciting way to get people, to collect cards and buy Topps Chrome. So that's my pick for one single card. And yes, I own it.
Love it. Well, you put your money where your mouth is, man. I love it. I remember now. I think Pete Rose rookie and second year cards are going to be in 20 years, going to outpace even other vintage cards. I think he'll get in the Hall of Fame. And I think that matters to a lot of baseball collectors. And I also think as time goes by, statistics in baseball specifically become more and more important. And he's the all-time hit king. He'll be in the Hall of Fame, I think. Gambling on sports is going to be even more popular in 20 years if we're still around, the way things are going. So I think that's my pick for a vintage card. And I don't own it, but
I think that's a good choice. And also the fact that that card has always been really expensive.
Yeah.
And it hasn't had this giant jump to the moon or anything. It's expensive, but it's always been like $800 since I was a kid. So I think that's a great choice. Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
What about modern?
Oh, modern. I think I'm going to go along the same theme, and I'm thinking about guys who are going to get in the Hall of Fame that aren't yet, like from the steroid era. And the number one would be Barry Bonds. So I know his cards have gone up, but I think a card like, I see it's hard to pick I know it's my question, but the player I got, I think it would be more of like not his junk wax era stuff, like his rookie card or anything. I think it will be more on the late 90s, like maybe the Barry Bonds PMG or something like that will, it's already expensive, but I think it will catch up to even like Griffey and guys like that from those same type of cards. So I'll say the 98 PMG of Barry Bonds. There's 50 of them.
Fair enough.
And I don't own that card. All right. Number 4, we got to get PSA in here. Do you think PSA will still be the top grading company in 10 years? 10 years from today, will they be number 1 still?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, me too. That's my answer. Yes.
Simple.
All right. That's a quick one. We'll do a whole, we're going to be on, well, actually I can't say it. Never mind. Forget I said that. If you could only collect this is number 5. If you could only collect baseball cards from pre-war or the 90s, so you got to pick one for the rest of your collecting career, you got to either do pre-war or 90s cards. And you can only pick one. Which one would you pick?
Probably 90s, believe it or not.
Okay.
I want to say pre-war, but 90s would really just hit more the nostalgic button for me on the players themselves. And there's so much variety in pre-war too. That's really tough. But if you would have given me vintage or modern, then I would definitely do vintage. Like not even a question, not even a thought. But pre-war for me, it'd be so expensive to pick up every card I want. I don't want the commons, only on, random sets. I'm not a set builder, so to speak. So the pre-war stuff's just, the guys I want are ultra expensive. Where the 90s, man, I could still pick up Tony Gwynn card from the 90s refractor for $5. Like a sick card, I could pick up 100 different ones. Yeah, I would say the 90s. It's crazy to say. And you know me, I'm not a 90s guy. Like,
right.
I love the cards from the 90s. I just think they've been so ballooned up that for me, I like to throw my money at where things haven't taken off yet, because there's so many ways we can collect cards. When something blows up in balloons, like to me, Barry Bonds already ballooned. Like I like to go another direction and find another balloon that hasn't expanded yet, because there's always another area to expand to. You're not trapped ever as a collector. Something like Aaron Judge, I'm not buying Aaron Judge's cards right now. It's like when something shoots to the moon, I kind of just skip over here. But I got to choose the 90s. Long answer, 90s.
Smart. Yeah, I would pick the 90s too, mostly because I think you get more choices. At least for me, I'd have more options in the 90s that could, if I have to only be in one period of time for the rest of my life collecting, I think I could have more bandwidth for the 90s. Whereas pre-war, I know there's a lot of different cards and stuff, but just from a player perspective, I only know really a lot of the big name players from pre-war. Whereas like you're saying, like Nomar Garcia-Parra, Tony Gwynn, guys like that from the 90s, where they're not that popular in the hobby, you can do really well with those guys and not blow out your budget. So yeah, I would pick the 90s too.
But I guess if we were both rich and we had $2,000 a month to spend on cards, I would do pre-war, because I have the money to go after the guys I really truly want. So
gotcha.
Yes, you put it in that sense. So we don't get stoned.
Yeah.
Our vintage.
Yeah, I love pre-war. I love pre-war. But hey, I knew it would be a tough question. If I put vintage in, I knew you were going to just easily pick that one.
Yeah.
So I had to make it challenging. All right. Number 6. What's your favorite year of baseball cards? Best year for baseball cards ever. Like even before you were born, all that.
1958 tops. So 1958, because that set to me is like the pinnacle of baseball cards. The 58 top set does everything for me, for my brain. I love everything about it. All the players that are in the 58 set. Every player I want is in the 58 set from that era. So yeah, I guess that's where I go. What else is in 58? Is there like any other companies? It's just like, I'm sure there is oddball stuff, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I could find more stuff to go in 58, but it would be because 58 tops.
And yeah, because if you went to like backwards to like the Bowman era, like 53, you could go 50. Oh, you got Bowman and tops. So
Yeah.
I would probably pick 53 for vintage. But I think my overall would be this might surprise me. I think I'd pick 1998 because yeah, in the 90s, I mean, 98 was like first year of PMGs. You got the most popular essential credentials year. And it just goes on and on. For whatever reason, 98 was just like, it was the year for, big 90 sets. A lot of them, 1998 Bowman, Bowman's best atomic refractor. That's everyone's favorite. Their first numbered refractors in 98. So I'm going to say that just because there's so many more options, when you with 53, you got like tops and Bowman and then some oddball stuff. So I'll say 98.
Yeah, I guess I put myself in a box. 58. I like buy the set and then my collecting's done.
I love 58 too. All right, so number 7. All right, if you could open one pack of baseball cards right now from any one set ever, what would it be?
1952 tops.
Oh, okay.
The series mantles in, I guess, the low series.
Yeah.
Right? I think he is.
Yeah. I would probably pick that too. Yeah.
I've always wanted to open a pack of 1952 tops. Like, to me, that's like the pinnacle of packs. Like, you just can't get a better pack than that. There's just no other pack I'd want to open up more than that.
Or what about a pack of cigarettes from 1909? You get it, Honus Wagner, right?
I mean, look, yeah, that'd be pretty sick to get a red one, but I want multiple cards though. 52, you get at least get a few.
Gotcha. I'll say 52 too.
Okay.
All right. Number 7. This is a little different. Oh no, number 8. Do you think it's possible? I'll tell you why I thought of this, but do you think it's possible for a grading company to create 100% UV protective slab? I know it's possible, like technologically possible, but would it be financially possible for a grading company to have 100% UV protective slab? Or would it just be too expensive? It wouldn't work in the hobby. Because I know you know a lot about glass and UV protection. You built your own museum basically. So what do you think on that? Is that something that they could do?
Technologically, I don't think it's possible. If you go to the Declaration of Independence, it's behind this super crazy thick glass in a dark room and a certain light, LED light on top of that, and yet it's still gonna fade over time. It doesn't. I don't think there's just UV glass it only helps to a certain point. And I think people need to just really be aware that light will smoke your cards. Like, you have any natural light coming in your room, even indirect light off in a corner, you will get fading on your cards. So even with my museum grade glass, which I looked into all of this. I went deep on protecting my cards. It's certain temperature where my card is. Every window has a cover UV coat on the window. I installed on the window, including the screens. And then outside, I have screens that crank down over top of the windows. So when when I'm not at home, or pretty much always, unless for some reason it's raining and we want the windows open. And then I have all kinds of other crazy systems set up. So no light touching my cards. I don't think it's possible. and I don't think it's as big a deal as people are making it out to be. You just don't leave your cards in the light. Like I don't those pennies. I've done experiments with the museum grade glass that I bought, high end stuff, expensive, and you still get fading on your cards in indirect sunlight and obviously direct sunlight. I did a versus, and I did this over a couple year period, and I changed out certain cards that I looked at the same ones, put them on both boards. You're gonna get fading no matter what. So unless you know something I don't know about them, I just light's light. It's gonna get through at some point somewhere with that. The UV is it's gonna penetrate.
Yeah, I mean, because you hear a lot of different like these slab cases that they sell now that claim to have. I think they say, I don't know if they say 100% UV protection or just UV protection, but it's people might think that it's more protective than it really is, and
Great.
it's fun to display your cards, right? It's fun to have your cards on the wall or on the desk. And ideally, like in my new house I'm moving to, I'd like to set up a whole room with cards that are always out and everything, but there's a lot of light that comes in that room. So it's kind of that give and take where it's, maybe you just pick certain cards to display that it's okay if they fade a little over time, but you don't want to take your most expensive cards and put them out, even though you'd want to look at them all the time, so it's kind of a double-edged sword.
There's always, there's always ways to cover your cards when you're not home and make them look good. So they're not in the light. My graded cards, the windows could be wide open. They are behind a sheet that has 4 layers completely blacked out. And then the other one folds behind a wall completely blacked out. And then the only ones I keep out all the time, still behind UV glass and against a wall that will never get light, I have my 80s cards. So yeah, certain ones that I just like, well, yeah, whatever. I'm not gonna notice the fading in my lifetime. But yeah, I just can't urge people enough. Like, change your lights to LEDs. That's the number one easiest thing you could possibly do.
And that's I was thinking that too, like the fun cards from the 80s, which you look at and you just have such joy, the Bo Jackson Future Stars, the Canseco rated rookie, all these cards. Yeah, perfect. Like those are the great display cards too, because yeah, if they fade over your lifetime, it's not the end of the world, they're totally still around and you can always replace it with another one. But the reason I asked that question is I was thinking about, I saw something on Instagram, I think I sent it to you, where this guy did a test. Now, I don't know. I didn't get all the details, but he basically did a test of like all the major grading company slabs. And he showed what ones had the highest UV protection. And he showed all of them. Like tag grading was 67%. Again, I don't know how he came up with that number, but 67. Probably Beckett, I think, was like 50. CGC was a little lower, I believe. But then like PSA was 16% UV protection with the new slabs too, the ones that they said have better UV protection. Again, this guy could have made it up. I didn't really look too deep into it, but it just got me thinking like, yeah, even, the most expensive PSA slabs, you could spend thousands of dollars grading a really expensive car with PSA, but they really don't have much UV protection as far as what I can tell. So,
dude, we've all seen those cards at shows. And are in 7, 8, 9 holders, and they're faded as all can be. And you're like, that thing is torched.
Yep.
That's like a -1 now. And yet people will still pay big dollars for it. And you're like, bro, that's not even a card anymore.
Right. All right. Next question, number 9. All right. I know you're not a huge autograph collector. You have autographs in your collection, like your Roger Maris, which is awesome. But what would be like of an autograph that you don't have, what player would be like your grail autograph that you would love to get in your collection? It could be a card, it could be whatever. Just what player would you love to have their autograph?
I want the Mickey Mantle triple auto that you have.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be my number 1 dream autograph card of all time. That's the Score franchise with Yaz, Harmon Killebrew, and Mickey Mantle.
No, Yaz. Stan Musial, and Mantle.
Oh, is it Stan? Yeah, Stan Musial. Yes. Yeah.
Even better, Stan Musial.
Yeah, even better. Yeah. See ya, Harmon. That was that 2,500. Number 2,500, or is it 5,000?
500.
500 even. Yeah. That's my number 1. Otherwise, I want 92. Actually, I would still, they have as a single franchise autograph Mickey Mantle. And then also I would take one of his score autographs from 92 where he signs them on the back. And then also there's a Joe D that there's a Pinnacle one and there's a score franchise one, or I mean a score 92 score one he signs on the back. All pack pulls. All I want are pack pull autographs from like the newer stuff, but like the original stuff. That one you have would be my number one all time.
Okay. Well, that makes me feel good.
Yeah, that thing's magic.
Thanks. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know the pack pull. I agree with you. Like, I really came around to, like, as I thought more about it, the pack pulled autograph means more to me, than like an aftermarket or, vintage autograph. Those are awesome too. I have those too. But if I had a choice between pack pulled or not, I like the pack pulled just because of the hobby history and everything.
If you can pay someone to autograph your card, to me, it brings no value to the card. Like, it doesn't make sense. They're signing so much stuff. I have a Reggie Jackson autograph rookie card, but I can literally go and pay to get another one autographed I can get a high grade, crack it out, have them sign it, get a 10 auto and back to my 7 grade or whatever you buy the card in. To me, that's just not rare. Until the guy passes away, and even now when they pass away, they've already signed millions of stuff. I just don't see those being that valuable. You can still buy any old, Bob Gibson autograph on most of his cards, and it's just not hard to find. Now, when you find the rare card, and then you have it signed, or it's signed and the guy's no longer with us, there's something there. But I'm just not sold on going and taking a Nolan Ryan, any old vintage Nolan Ryan, and go sending it off, having him sign it, and all of a sudden it's worth more. To me, it's not worth more. It's just now it's autographed. It's cool, but I don't know. It's like one of those things. It's a tough topic, and it's pack pulls, man.
Yep.
Pack pulls in the original pack pulls.
I think outside of the pack pull, I would say Babe Ruth. To get a Babe Ruth like autographed baseball, that would be awesome. Because he's got such a beautiful signature too, where like a lot of the guys way back did, but it's such a just perfect signature of the Babe Ruth ones. So
yeah, it's awesome.
All right, number 10. Do you prefer insert cards or parallel cards? I think I know this answer, but for people that may not know the difference, because I hear this all the time. People call the 90s era like the 90s insert era. And there were inserts in the 90s, of course. But really, the most popular cards from the 90s are parallel cards. So they're basically parallels of the base card, the PMGs, the Essential Credentials, the Star Rubies. Those are all parallel cards. Inserts are, a unique card, unique photo. What is your preference on that? Do you like the parallel or the insert better?
100%. I like the parallel version. I like knowing that I can get the common base card, but then have extra cool things added on the border. And then, it's serial numbered, it's stamped, it's manufactured scarcity, but it's a special card. I think it really makes it cool. And when we were kids, insert cards were a dime a dozen. Like, 91 pulling the home run heroes card. The parallel in that was the autographed one, of I think it was even 90, Reggie Jackson. There was a parallel back then, and it was autographed. And then we find out now he signed one from 1927 that said Babe Ruth on it. So there's a parallel of the parallel. I'm sold on the parallels. Now, insert cards are cool, and they also have insert parallels now, right? So you get it just makes them less scarce. So what people need to understand is, so when you say you open a pack today and there's an insert set and there's 20 cards in that set, and then you get one number to 25, even if this says on the back of the pack that it's harder to find that card, say it's 1 out of 3,000, or the regular, say it's gold number to 50, 1 out of 3,000 packs, or the regular base card to gold is 1 out of 300 packs. It's still less rare to pull the insert number to 50, because once you pull that insert, your odds are better that you actually have the guy you want. It's out of 20 instead of out of 600 in the whole set. So I think that's the only hard part to figure out when you're collecting modern. I mean, I learned quickly, but I also bought a lot of insert parallels in the beginning when I was collecting, when I got into this ultra modern thing. And I really just thought back to when I was a kid and what like the Fleer Roger Clemens black border inserts were. They were a dime a dozen. They were cool. I wanted them, but if they were serial numbered, stamped from other cards, I would have been way more attracted to them. So long answer, but simple answer: parallels all day long. What about you?
Same. I love parallels. There's certain insert cards I do like, but I don't really like the parallel, like the parallels to the insert cards. Those have always bugged me because it's like we're going too far now. We already got too many cards. We don't need parallels of the insert cards. Like when I know that you'll laugh at this, but I actually, when I first saw Kaboom cards, I actually kind of liked them. I was like, hey, those are cool. What ruined it for me was I found out that the Kabooms, which are an insert, they have parallels. They have like gold and green parallels of a Kaboom, and I was like, oh man, I'm done. No, I'm out now.
It's
like
it
was a cool insert. It was a unique card, but then you're like, oh, I got a Kaboom. Oh wait, it's not the Kaboom though. There's a better Kaboom. Screw that. I'm out. So I love parallels, and you know what I love the most about parallels? They're one of the few type of cards that can be both iconic and rare. Yes. Because you have like a base card that usually iconic cards are more populous cards, more base cards, because you see it over and over. The really rare cards, generally, you don't see them that much over time, so they don't have a chance to become as iconic. But, the 52 Mantle, not a rare card. The 89 Upper Deck Griffey, definitely not a rare card. Those are iconic, a lot of them, but they're iconic. Imagine if there was a parallel to the 52 Tops or a parallel to the 89 Upper Deck. There was a gold version of the 89 Upper Deck, numbered to 500 or something like that. Then you have rare and iconic because it's got the same image. It's not a unique image. So I love that idea about the parallel cards, and the most valuable ones of the 90s, for instance, like Michael Jordan parallels. They're both iconic because you've seen that base card image a lot, and then you have a rare numbered to 10 green PMG of the base card. So yeah, I love parallels.
I love it. Oh, one more quick question to add to that. Do you think parallels of rookie cards are still rookie cards?
Yes.
Me too.
I do.
Like without even stamp it on there, it's a no-brainer.
Yep.
I don't understand the argument, and there's plenty of guys that don't think that. I don't get it. It's just a more rare version of the rookie card.
Yeah, it's the same image, same basically. It's a base card, but just variation of it with yeah. So I think it's a better rookie.
I agree too. You heard it here. Turn back the clock. Yeah. If you don't agree, you're wrong.
Yeah, but you feel free to put comments in there with your opinions on any of these questions, guys. Always appreciate it.
We love reading those. Love the answers to these questions.
All right, guys, we only got 2 more questions left. 2 more. Yeah. All right. Number 11. What's not your favorite, but what's the greatest Junk Wax era card? The greatest. And not like, hey, I know it's your Wally Joyner 87 Tops, your favorite or whatever, but what's the greatest card of the Junk Wax era?
1986 Donruss Jose Canseco.
Oh, okay. All right.
Greg Midlife had that. It was like the same question. He put that up there, and I have my original one that I bought when I became an adult. I bought it for $3 on the pit, graded an 8, literally $3. If I was smart, I would have spent $100,000 on Jose Canseco's and PSA 8s, and I'd be I would have 50 times because those are like $50, and I'm like 30 to $50 for a PSA 8, and 20 years ago they're $3. I've had that one that I've traveled with. I put it in all my sheds, my surf sheds, and I just had it up like in the sun, like everywhere with me. And it was the card when I was a kid, way more than the Griffey for me. It was the card, and it's always been like, that's it. What about you?
I have to say, not my favorite, but 89 Upper Deck Griffey. I have to say that's the greatest Junk Wax card. I know it's a 87 Bo Jackson, Future Stars, like on your shirt there. Yeah. That would be a close one right up there. But yeah, I'll say. But it's funny, man. I've always had an appreciation for it, like we all do that grew up during that time period. But just recently, I've been having so much fun just going on eBay and looking for like low grade or ungraded cheap junk wax era, like iconic cards like the 87 Mark McGuire, the Canseco, the even 89 Upper Deck Griffey. I'm doing a downgrade where I'm selling my PSA 10 Griffey 89 that I bought a long time ago. I'm going to take that profit. And then I just bought I think it was a PSA 5 that looked, it's going to be another side by side like I did with my bird. I bought it for, I think it was less than $50 maybe. But it literally was dead centered and just looks just as good, at least from the scans, as the 10. So I've been having so much fun just looking for centered versions of junk wax era cards, because they're not, there's millions of them, but they're not all centered. You know, sometimes it's tough to find like a really nice looking version without trying to get the PSA 10, you know?
Dude, it's crazy. I seriously, I really genuinely believe that they all look the same when you're in the 90s and above. Like the junk wax era, literally a 5 to a 10. If it's dead centered and there's no creases and wrinkles, like, and there's nothing that like stands out, they look identical. It's so different than vintage. And I genuinely feel that in the future, people are already understanding that. And I think those high grades are just, they're overblown, and they'll keep shooting up until things crumble. But that other stuff will like hold its ground. It'll hold its value and hold it steady. Yeah, I love that. I love what you're doing with all your stuff too.
It's just fun, man. It's just fun to just like pick a card like the 86 Canseco or whatever, and just go, you know what? Some of these cards I've never owned, man. I never got them when I was a kid, and I still never got them. So I'm like, I should have one of those, you know? And those are the display cards I want in my office, stuff like that. And just going through eBay, trying to find the right one for the lowest price possible. It's really fun.
Well, add to that. So I did a video, but I did a double D grading reveal, and most of them are like our 80s cards. And I went on by myself for 2 hours, and I thought it was like 25 minutes. I had no idea. So I've literally been downloading it. I've told you in the text, it's still downloading right now.
Oh man.
I don't think anyone's going to watch it, but I don't care. I'm going
to watch it.
It's all junk wax, like super sick, but Tiffany's. But I went on ComC and I looked for, out of 20 people had for sale, I looked for a center one. It was like $1.50, throw it in the cart. Chris Sabo, throw it in the cart. Just cool stuff, nostalgic stuff. And it's a good way to divert from spending a lot of money.
Totally. All right, last question. I had to get a centering question in here for you. All right. Name a baseball card you'd like to add to your collection where it wouldn't have to be perfectly centered. What's an exception card that this card is so rare or so hard to find, or I want it so bad that I'm not even gonna like hunt for a perfectly centered one, or maybe there isn't even a perfectly centered one.
Well, I've been really on this Japanese baseball card kick, and I'm trying to find all the cards that were in gum packs. I really just love that concept because that's how I grew up buying cards. There's gum in the packs, and there's one card in each. If I see the card, and I'm finding out how rare these cards are. Like there might be only 4 that are known to exist. So cards like that, but also cards like, I will definitely give on certain, pre-war stuff, even if it's a card that you can find centered and it's not centered. If it touches all these other boxes and is in the right price range, I will pull the trigger and I'll be really happy with it. Like I bought a Roy Campanella rookie the other day, and it looked insane. And all the photos, and I zoomed in on my computer, PSA's photos and Probstein's photos, and I was like, this thing's perfect. I saw there was like a mark up here, and I was like, okay, well, that's where the 2 comes in, and then there was wax stain on the back. Well, when I got the card, there's wrinkles in it, and it's dead centered. It's beautiful color, but I'm definitely going to have to sell that card because I just can't get past this one wrinkle. And every time I look at it, I see the wrinkle. Even if it's far, I can't see it, but it's something about it. So centering on certain cards like that, I'm still going to look for a centered one, but I would have rather have an off-center one without the crease and been able to just hold it until I find another one. But now I look at that card and I was just like really bummed out. I'm like, That's why it's so hard to buy these cards online.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see it when it's so hidden. Like it shouldn't be that picky, but I am, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, I think for me, like when I'm going back to looking for a Cracker Jack card, you know, I I'd pick one that's maybe okay centered, but I'm totally fine getting like a Cracker Jack card or some of these food issue cards that aren't centered like I'd want a you know, a Topps card from the 60s to be centered or whatever. So
Totally.
or 52 Topps, really, you know, that's set. If you're looking for a Jackie or a Willie Mays or a Mantle, you give a little uncentering on those because there's just very, very few. As we've seen Matty C on Instagram, he's doing his research project where he's looking through all the PSA 10s and 9s and 8s and 7s of the 52 Mantle.
All the way down to 2.
All the way down to 2. And I forget what it is, but it's just staggeringly low how few centered copies there are out there.
I want to say he had like over 400 that he looked through, and I believe only 13 passed his centering eye, which is, you know, nothing. Not that I already realized this, and this is true for other Topps cards as well, not just the 52 Mantle. There's other Topps cards that are insanely rare, and that's kind of what I always said from the beginning when I started doing this sell the high grade off-centered stuff, you know, 2.5, 3 years ago now. That was my original concept. I think these center ones are more rare. I think the center ones are going to become more valuable in the future. Yeah, you know, get me on the centering game.
Yeah, I had to end it. I had to end it on a centering thing. I knew we wanted to go out that way. And you know, everyone knows this that watches you, that you're always thinking about cards. Cards are on your mind, and it really showed through these questions because every single question you already had your answer in your head. You didn't know what the questions were going to be, but you already think about this stuff. So I didn't even have to give you these questions ahead of time.
Dude, that was really fun, Adam. So I really got to come up with some good questions. I'm glad. It's perfect because we both get to answer them, even though they're your questions. I'll come up with some questions next time for you. That was really fun.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah. I was just like pretending to do work today, for my real job, and I was just I was thinking of questions in my head, jot it down. You know, so maybe we'll have a guest on in the future. We could do something like that with them. You know, we haven't had a guest on in a while, so that'd be cool.
We haven't.
Well, this might be the last. Maybe we'll do one more, but I got my move coming up here, so this could be the last turn back the clock from Arizona. So you know, I get sentimental about not only people but cards, but also like places. You know, we've done a lot of videos from this garage here. I have so yeah, it's been fun. If this is it, we might be able to squeeze one more in, but if not, it's been fun. Arizona garage.
Freaking awesome. You've had some hot box days in that garage filming.
Yeah, I used to do it in the summertime. I'd be like, all right, that's where I'd be like, oh, I got to do this like 20-minute video, 20-minute max, because after that I'd die of heat stroke because I'd come out here, you know. So all right, well guys, that's it. That's episode 39, Turn Back the Clock. Dylan, thanks as always, man, for joining me, and we'll be doing episode 40 on your channel. Not sure when, but it will be coming up. So that's it.
Can't wait.
See ya.
Later.